Hello to Megaran. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm not too bad. Looking at the tour dates, especially the UK tour dates, like you're pretty much February. You're straight into it, really, aren't you?
Yeah, it's always super hectic, but a good time. So I know that we're getting into another crazy year of touring.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the UK tour is probably a good place to start. Are you looking forward to getting back over here?
Yes, I am. It's probably one of my favorite places to go, the UK in general. And this tour, I'm going to a lot of cities I haven't been to, which is really exciting. I feel like little by little it expands a little bit more. Now we're going all over the place, so I'm excited.
You mentioned obviously going to some different venues, different cities and stuff like that. I mean, looking at some of the venues, you've got kind of venues in there that are a little bit kind of different, like especially like the Nottingham show, which is in the video arcade museum. I mean, were you involved in the booking of the tour? Have you kind of chosen the cities you're going to, or is it an English booker that's done it for you?
Well, it's a little bit of both. An English booker did most of the groundwork out there on that, and he knocked it out of the park. It was a really, really cool thing to be able to kind of sit back and just wait and let him do a lot of the groundwork, which is difficult, especially with me being in the States, having to, contact venues, promoters, places, people out there. But having someone there who knows the areas, work on it, was a huge relief for me. So I was able to kind of just sit back and be patient and wait.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, especially if you're booking new cities for having someone out here that knows the venues and stuff like that, it's probably a lot easier. How do you find playing Preston? Because I actually went to university in Preston, so I know roughly where the venue is, but never went there during my time. Is it a good crowd?
It's a great place to play. I really had a good time. It's a great college atmosphere. I do love it. Preston's definitely a university town. I've played there twice before. Had really, really good shows there. Great turnouts. Great young, vibrant crowds, and one of my favorite places to play out there.
Yeah, it's a lovely city, and it's a place that I miss it a lot, because it's that nice vibe where it's not a massive city, but it's not it's not a small city. You've got the big city vibe, but then you're quite near to the countryside still, so it's got that kind of best of both worlds feel for a British city.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Another venue, obviously, is the video arcade in Nottingham. Now, it's a place that I only live about 50 minutes away from Nottingham, but I've never actually been. But how does a gig work in somewhere like that? Because I imagine it's not the usual kind of venue for having a music show.
No, it's not the usual venue, but I think we're fortunate in what we do. It's kind of a nerdy-based hip-hop outfit that we're used to, making things fit in some unorthodox places. And I went to the arcade just to visit a year and a half ago, and when I met some people who ran it, it's very much like a museum. So they have courses there. They have people come and speak and things like that. So they have rooms for those types of things. So what I did was I arranged a short talk where I would give a history of hip hop and video games. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I would have a performance in that same room. And they offered refreshments and treats, and it was really good. It was one of our better shows of tour. It was very surprisingly awesome. So we were definitely interested in coming back, and they were flexible with us on the date, and it worked out. And I think having venues like that aren't the typical pub and bar gives people that have children a better opportunity to come out and see the show in a different environment.
Yeah, I suppose it makes it more welcoming. Say more, like you say, more family atmosphere, because it brings other people in, and I suppose a venue like that as well. In the way that you did it last time, from the sounds of it, you've got the kind of hip hop crowd that might have come out, and then you've also got the video game crowd that have come out to might have come out to see you speak initially, and you've kind of got that crossover crowd almost.
Absolutely, I think that's a big part of what we do. Is we're just as much of a part hip hop as we are a part video games. So, so getting both of those crowds into one place, the best place to do it is probably a video game arcade. So we tend to each tour at least do one or two events that are a little out of the norms, either whether a convention, like we're doing the anime and gaming convention in London, or we do like an arcade, or what they call them barcades now, or some sort of a venue that would be conducive to like having a talk as well as some music. I'm also a former teacher, so I think being able to exhibit and use some of those skills to lecture as well, I think are always a really good thing. And any opportunity I have to do that, I'll try to squeeze that into a concert as well.
Yeah, give people more bang for their buck. I mean, obviously doing my research and stuff, and reading into you kind of starting out and bringing the video game references into your material. I kind of never dawned on me before kind of how closely related the rap and the video game kind of cultures are, and how easy it seems to have been. But were you apprehensive about kind of sneaking those early references in when you first started doing it?
Oh, definitely. I felt like for some reason, many of the guys I knew who loved hip hop also loved video games, but never would mention one with the other, and never would combine one with the other. So it was almost like it was taboo to do so, and so when I did initially try it, I was very much inspired by, and I kind of emboldened by guys like MF Doom, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, who then moved into Deltron and doing a lot of other space and game oriented and projects. And so seeing some of those folks do that gave me a lot of courage to try it. And so I just kind of embraced my nerdy gamer side and started making music that I myself would appreciate. And luckily, there was a group of other folks who would appreciate it as well. And it's been I would say it's been an uphill climb, but in the, 10 years that I've been doing it, it gets easier, of course. But I've seen folks who would be a little apprehensive, like gamers not wanting hip-hop with their gaming, and hip-hoppers not wanting gaming with their hip-hop,
Yeah.
But then once they see it, if they see it's well done, they see it done with care and with love, that I think that they would, they usually open up to it, and they appreciate it.
I mean, it's surprised me over, because I kind of discovered the genre with MC Lars like a year and a half ago, and then obviously I've explored different artists and stuff like that, and it really surprises me how you've got Lars and then you're both in that that nerdcore genre, but the sounds are completely different. Do you know what I mean? It's a strange genre, because it's only really called a genre because of what you're talking about, not necessarily the musical stylings, isn't it?
Correct. I think calling it a genre is it can be a bit confusing to folks sometimes, because it's much more of a subgenre, I guess. And with the overlying genre being hip hop, and so I don't necessarily like to have to classify it or qualify it by stating what it is. Well, it's hip hop, but it's not that hip hop. Well, why not? Why isn't it that hip hop? What's still different about it? We're using the same production techniques and same lyrical, approaches to getting our point across. It's just the subject matter is different. So if the approach is the exact same in creation and conception, then I feel like it's just hip hop, But my styling of hip hop may be a little more approachable to a person who not necessarily is a huge fan of traditional hip hop.
Yeah. Well, like to me, like it's the subject matter. That's the subject matter that speaks to me more than kind of, like you say, that traditional hip hop, like you know, as much as there are kind of classic hip hop artists that I like a lot of the time the subject matter doesn't necessarily speak to me, but with your your stuff and Lars's stuff and stuff like that, like it's all kind of content and subject matter that speaks to me and that I can relate to more than others.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that.
It's okay. I mean, for those that obviously, because I only probably got into the genre about a year and a half ago, and for those that are kind of, you know, just getting into kind of that side of things, I mean, who are your kind of seminal artists that you think people should be going kind of checking out, obviously other than yourself?
Oh, well, obviously, I mean, you mentioned Lars, MC Fun a lot, MC Chris are the first guys I had heard. There's Whitey Cracker, there's Sammus, who's going to be on tour with me, who I think is incredible, dynamic performer and writer, and I think really is represents kind of the future of where I see nerd music going. You know, that bit of fearlessness about, you know, not being afraid of who you are, what you come from, and being able to talk about some of those maybe gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching moments, you know, of growing up a little bit different, you know, and I think that's the next evolution of nerd music. I think, you know, I really enjoy Richie Branson, Kadesh Flow. There's a gentleman named IQ who's just started, who's making some amazing music. Did I mention YT Cracker? Beefy. There's a good amount of folks, I think, who make really, really great nerdy-based hip-hop music that I think people should check out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned obviously Sammus, who's coming out on tour with you, and I've downloaded some of her stuff off the back of, she's on one of your tracks on, which album was it? And I remember hearing her voice on one of the tracks, but I mean, that's what I love about you guys, is obviously, you know, with kind of rock music and punk music, which is what I also listen to, like, it's always just that band, whereas with the kind of hip-hop world, you know, everyone wants to kind of have other people on their tracks and give kind of people that leg up almost, but also, you know, utilise the talent that they've got, which is what I really like.
Absolutely. I think that hip-hop is definitely, I guess, breeds well with for collaboration for that reason. And I love to bring a different energy into the track or the studio, and I think that helps a lot with me. I get tired of hearing my own voice all the time. And it's so I really always enjoy another opportunity to bring someone else in, get their perspective and creative, you know, input on the song.
Yeah. I was reading another interview where obviously you mentioned and they talked about you appearing on SmackDown Live earlier in the year with the New Day, and that hopefully that might be something that, you know, develops over the years. In a hypothetical world, this is which wrestler, current and legendary, would you like to create or perform the entrance music for?
Wow. Honestly, I would say in a perfect world, if The Rock made a comeback, I would love to perform The Rock's music. Been a huge fan of The Rock for a long time. I don't know. That's something I haven't really thought about. I mean, I feel like the New Day is kind of perfect for what I do. It's fun. It's positive. So I think that's a great fit. I think the song I made already is really perfect, you know, and maybe one day we could somehow work that into what they do in a bigger way. And but honestly, I would just be happy to be a part of the production somehow, you know, like it doesn't even necessarily have to be a wrestler I'm a fan of, but I would just love to be a part of it somewhere, somehow. And I could do Kurt Hawkins music and be and still check off that lifelong bucket list dream, you know.
Yeah. It seems to be a thing that's more open though now. I mean, like, obviously with Alistair Black's music, like, that's something where they brought in an outside artist again to do that music for. So it feels like in the last, especially with NXT, it feels like that the idea of bringing someone else in to do the music isn't out of the question anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had meetings with those guys, so you know, all I can say is fingers are crossed for the best case scenario. But yes, I have seen that, and it always excites me when it happens, when they work with outside bands and and performers and like existing bands, not just like hired session people.
Yeah.
Like for example, I don't know who raps on Nia Jax's theme. I don't know who's doing the singing, for example.
Yeah.
But there are times where they bring in existing established bands to play songs for folks, which I think it is really encouraging for what I do.
Are we okay to do some Royal Rumble predictions? I know you've got your own podcast, but are you happy to do them here?
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, sure. We haven't done a Royal Rumble episode yet. It wouldn't be for a while. So, yeah, I think I'm down to. I'm almost certain that I want Shinsuke to win.
Right.
And I feel like that if that leads to Shinsuke versus AJ at WrestleMania, that'll make a lot of people happy. So that's what I want to happen. However, I wouldn't be mad at Braun Strowman winning and going to WrestleMania. My only, I guess, issue with the Royal Rumble being the way it is that I wish that it was like the old days where whoever won could challenge someone from the other brand.
Yeah.
Which would make for much more interesting matchups. I feel like these same people have been in the ring with each other for 6 months leading up to this, so it's not as exciting, for it to happen.
Yeah, like I was thinking, how good would it be for like Balor to win and then challenge AJ at WrestleMania? Like,
oh yeah, that would be amazing. Like that I would love to see. That first match was incredible. I feel like a lot of different things could happen. I just saw a crazy theory on just a what if on Twitter that someone said that I thought would be an awesome idea. They said, what if the last two in the Royal Rumble are Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they both decide to eliminate each other at the same time, and then they get a triple threat match against AJ.
That would be crazy. Good. That would be good. Any kind of ideas on any surprise entrants that you might think might turn up on in Philly?
Last year there were no real surprises. So honestly, there weren't any like vintage stars. There weren't any big. I think the biggest thing was Ty Dillinger last year. So as far as surprises go, so honestly, I don't see anything. I mean, it would be great if Drew McIntyre is ready to go by then and he comes up. I would love to see that. But let's see, who else? I'd love for them to give Jake the Snake one more go, and he pops in. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I can't necessarily say because I remember last year having all these hopes for special folks coming out, and there were none really, like no major like legacy stars or surprises.
No, last year was the one as well, wasn't it, where Reigns came out at number 30. Like everyone's thinking it's going to be someone big, and then it was Reigns, and I think there was.
Oh yeah, and it was Roman. I'm like, wow, that was just really bad booking. I just feel like you got to give this guy a chance. It's like, come on, that this audience is waiting for something big, and you bring out a person they just saw in a match, like.
Yeah, but I remember it like 10 years ago when I was watching as a teenager. Like, if you wrestled on the card earlier in the night, you wouldn't be on in the Rumble match. Like, very rare that someone would do the double stint, and then obviously now that just seems to be.
It was rare. Now they throw it out the window. Even then, like, I don't fully remember it, but I think like during that match, he took some sort of like kayfabe injury and like limps out of the ring, limps out of the area, and it's like, oh, we don't know what the state of Roman Reigns will be, and then he comes back like a half hour later, so it's like, at least try to make us believe it a little bit.
Any predictions on the Women's Rumble? You thought about that yet?
Oh man, I think for sure Nikki Bella has to appear. Like, she absolutely has to.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. I've heard some rumblings, and how awesome would it be if like AJ Lee appeared, but I don't think that'll happen.
Never happening.
But no way. I don't think that'll go down. But the only thing I feel like I know and believe in my heart has to happen is Nikki Bella has to appear. I think just because of what she's done for women's wrestling, at least for her era.
Yeah.
I think that she deserves to make an appearance.
Do you think Brie will be with her? If Nikki and Brie come back, that's the only chance I'm going to get the wife to watch the Royal Rumble. If they can bring Nikki and Brie,
I think that would be cool. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen if Brie's in shape. I think I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think
that would make a much more powerful impact if they both came back together, though.
Yeah. It's one of those ones. I think the Women's Rumble, because we've seen with the Men's Rumble, obviously, we've had the kind of legendary guest appearances over the years, whereas with the Women's Rumble, because it's never been done before, like, to me there is that kind of magic of the chances that, do you know what, if Trish is healthy and wants to do it, could Trish Stratus come back and just do 5 minutes in a Royal Rumble? Could Lita come back and do 5 minutes in a Royal Rumble?
The only thing I think that the worry of bringing back guys like that is that they have to get eliminated, and then the crowd is just going to turn on whoever eliminates them.
That's true.
So I think you got to think about that. You also have to make probably the most hated person eliminate the special guest, because people would be so stoked to see a Trish Stratus for Alita. So it has to be someone who can handle that heat to eliminate them.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it that way. My money's on Nia Jax, though.
I hope so.
I think Asuka's too obvious.
Yeah, too obvious. I think she's maybe gets to the final 4 or so, but it's way too obvious. I think maybe they'll have like every one of the women team up and get her out or something.
Yeah, it doesn't damage her credibility if she's